Anything you do in life has consequences, good or bad. When you make choices, are you ready to assume those consequences? If those are the only choices that define you, then we're all in trouble. When people see you and they go, oh, I know you, you're Kwame's girl. Nope, my name is Christine Beatty, how are you? I'm nobody's girl, I'm Christine.
What's it like to be home?
It's Detroit, and I love home. I'm born and raised, diehard Detroiter. And even when I moved to Atlanta, anytime I would come back, it's home. So I love Detroit. It's a little surreal being back day to day, but my day to day was a little different when I first came back. I wasn't just here just because, I was here because of my mom. So it's a little different, but I always love home.
Yeah, I know you came back to care for your mom, but does Detroit feel different?
Oh,
to you?
For sure. Yeah, it's you can see the progression of things, right? I was in Atlanta probably almost close to 12 years. So, just to see different things, good, bad, or indifferent, right? Like you see certain things that are there, new things, old things that have gone away. But yeah, it's a definite difference. But it's always the same Detroit in terms of our vibe. Detroit doesn't change much when it comes to our vibe. We are a unique city, which makes us one of the best. So I'm happy to see all of, the progress and those things going on, in our city. And I'm happy to be back just to have an opportunity to help do and make a difference. It wasn't why I came back, but, as a result, that's where I landed, is that work of helping others. So
let's talk about the why. It's about 2 years ago that you decided to move home permanently because of your mom.
Yeah. 2021, April, my mother was unexpectedly diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And it was a blow because I'm my mother's only child. So it's me and my mom my whole life. And my mother is my superhero. She still is. She always will be. And she's never been sick. She's never been anything. So then to be, something that extreme, it took her aback. It took me aback. And then we had to come up with a plan. How do we deal with that level of illness? And the answer ultimately was together. I'm going to be with my mother every step of the way. Every treatment, every visit, every conversation with the doctor, I'm there. So.
And becoming a caretaker is a very different thing. And the highs and lows of cancer can be hopeful and cruel. Yep.
It is, especially watching somebody that you love deteriorate. And your whole life, they've been this unmovable thing or this unmovable person, or when you're moved, they steady you. To now see the deterioration, and it was, I think probably that was the hardest thing because my mother was so vibrant. My mother was still working at, 70. She's a nurse by trade, which was another thing my mother, and it was just as simple as she didn't get a colonoscopy. And so then you look back and go, what do you mean? It's those simple things, right? But you always hear those kinds of stories. Yeah. A mammogram missed, a colonoscopy missed, and during COVID, I think a lot of those things happened, and it happened to her. And then to watch the process, like I said, for her to have to understand what's happening because she's a nurse by trade, she clearly knew. She knew every step of the way what was going on. So it was difficult to manage sometimes because she was very much like, don't waste healthcare resources on me. And I'm like, not wasting, but you have life to live, Mom. So that was, I think, the battle.
You did everything you could.
Yeah, it was, and she was willing to fight to a certain point. She really did not want to do extreme measures. And that was tough for me because, the folks are on this side.
Yeah.
You want to do all that you can. And that is a hard pill to swallow, when the person that's actually ill is like, enough already. Enough. And I think that I had to respect that, but it was so hard. And it was, she fought for 2 years. She did 2 9-month rounds of chemo. She did 18 weeks of an immunotherapy. And, it's for anybody that's been through that journey.
Yep. And I have with my husband who died of stage 4 colon cancer.
Yeah. And do you know, I did not know right now it's the exact same. So you understand the full.
I sure do.
It is So to watch that deterioration, it's nothing can prepare you for it. No. And how you heal from it is an individual process.
Yeah.
Nobody's is the same.
And she passed away in August?
She passed away in August. Yeah, she had finished immunotherapy this year. We had done the 18 weeks, so we were hopeful that it would, fight the cancer in a different, it was a trial, so, she knew risks, we understood risks. But ultimately, and the doctors at Carmine's were fabulous. Her whole team was wonderful. The nurses, just, I can't even express how wonderful they were in terms of the care and guiding us through the process. But at the end of the day, the immunotherapy really took it out of her. She really became very weak and lethargic because, again, your immune system is working overtime and the cancer didn't spread, but her body couldn't take that level. It couldn't take that level of effort. And it wore her down. In a period of 3 months, she went from still working to hospice. And it was, it happened so fast. I didn't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, it's hard to explain the journey to people who haven't walked it.
Yeah, it was tough.
The decision to come home, of course, was a no-brainer. And so you're actually now a program director at THAW. I am,
and I'm very happy because THAW is such a fantastic organization.
Your mom worked at THAW.
She did. Mm-hmm. And I got to give some background on that. So when we moved to Atlanta originally, and like I said, I'm my mom's only child, so my 2 daughters are her only granddaughters.
Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about your daughters in a minute. Mm-hmm.
But when we moved to Atlanta, we were there for a while, and probably like 2016, she felt like, I'm missing my granddaughters grow up. I want to be there. I want to be a part. So she moved to Atlanta with us. So that was cool. We had her for a couple of years. And then when the girls graduated, they went on to college. She was kind of like, can I go back home? And I was like, sure, because, my mom's entire life, she's been in the state of Michigan. She's never lived anywhere else. She grew up in Marshall, Michigan, Dearborn, and then she moved to Detroit at the age of 19, I think, and was here ever since. Mm-hmm. So Detroit was home. Her family, friends, that was here. So she came home, and my mother, like I said, is a nurse. Her alma mater is Wayne State. She has her PhD in nursing. She's very much into maternal child health. So her background is with the Healthy Start program from the 80s, and she worked with Dr. Jay Waller at Wayne State to, write a lot of those grants, for the city of Detroit. So that was her love. And she missed being here doing her work. And so when she came home in 2018, when she came back, she was actually going to go back into the maternal child health, work in the health department. And then Santil, who was the CEO of THAW, tapped her to come in and kind of help put together the data analytics about, energy security for people, in terms of how THAW deals with it across the state of Michigan. We help an inordinate amount of people, and that speaks to a couple of things, just the need, the good work, the people. But so she tapped her to do that. So she came on then to kind of help that. And I ended up coming on to THAW later in 2021, just in a contractual position, and then moved into a permanent position and went through the process like everybody else, interviewed and,
Was it hard to find a position back here in Detroit?
Yeah, it was hard to find work anywhere. It's been a tough 15 years. And I know that sounds crazy, like it's 15 years, but it's 15 years. Yeah. And it's been tough. And I'm grateful for the opportunity and the chance that THAW gave me to be a program director. It was, right up my alley. I have a bachelor's in social work and a master's degree in social work. I've administered many programs and helped to operate the city. And it is something that I love doing every day because we get to help people. I love it and I'm grateful for it. But everybody, especially when you have things like your past or your past actions, and if someone wants to bring those past actions up, And then now does this negatively impact the organization that you work for? And for THAW in any way, shape, or form to be negatively looked upon because they gave me an opportunity, to work is heartbreaking for me because of the work that they do. THAW has done great work for years, continues to do it. They've been doing it since 1985. So it's an honor, so I don't want anything to do with Christine Beatty to have a negative impact on THAW.
Do people recognize you? What do they say to you if they do?
Sometimes some people go, "Oh, I know you from somewhere," and I'll go, "Not sure." I don't do the immediate introduction if they ask, but I don't assume people know or remember. I mean, because sometimes I do know people from high school or my neighborhood, but I get the reaction sometimes, but it's always positive.
So, I mean, it does lend the question, why talk now? Does this bring everything back up? What happened when you say 15 years ago?
I think the conversation was because there were a few people, I think, questioning how I got my position at THAW. And so the conversation really more is so that people understand from me, what's going on. I'm not a city official anymore. I'm not a public official. But the work that THAW does is important enough for me to clarify for anybody how I got there and what I'm doing. And I think that's probably the why more than anything. I would love to just be left alone and go.
You'd love for all these cameras, everything to be gone here.
To be gone, right? Or that it's on, on my call, right? Like, because it's something that I want to do and talk to the press about. But, when you have to, discuss issues that are 15 years old, sometimes it gets cumbersome. But, the conversation has arisen because of, my position at THAW. And I think, people, because of that good work, I owe it to THAW, the board members, the staff, that nothing that I do harms the reputation of an organization as stellar as THAW.
Can we talk a little bit about your girls and your relationship with them right now?
Sure. My girls are tremendous. I love my girls. They are not without trials and tribulations like most 20-somethings.
I was just going to say, as a mother of 3 children, I hear you.
Not without trials and tribulations, but, they're finding their way. But they're great. This is a tough time for them too. My mother was their absolute favorite person in the whole world. So this is the first holiday season without my mom for them too. But our relationship as a family, I think the 4 of us were, that was the unit. Me, my mother, and the girls. That was my unit. And we're one short in the unit now. So everybody's adjusting. Everybody is trying to make sense of life and what it looks like now. Yeah. But they are fighting the 20-something battle, but they're doing well. Mm-hmm. They're doing well.
How do you talk to them about decisions that you've made and guiding them in decisions that they're making now as young women?
Just know that your choices have consequences. I really try to ensure that, my kids understand, my girls understand, anything you do in life has consequences, good or bad, they do, and when you make choices, are you ready to assume those consequences? If you can ask yourself that before each choice you make, now we all don't do it, right? Sometimes we do it anyway. We make choices anyway. But if you can ask yourself that question before and give yourself an honest answer, I think that will help you make the choice. And so my discussion with them about life is it's hard. It's hard. Not hard in a point where you can't be successful or you can't do the things you want to do in life, but it's hard. There are standards, there are consequences, there are opportunities, but that it's hard and you got to work at it. It doesn't come natural. You have to work at it. And with the grace of God, we all will make choices that knock us off our block, but then bring us back, right? Because you want to get stronger from any poor choice that you make. You want to get better. You want to do better. And I think they've seen that not just in my talking, just, how I live my life, and, my entire dedication has been to them, over my past 15 years. It's to my girls. I have daughters. So being a strong woman, showing them how You can come out of even a situation of your own making and still be strong and still be okay. That was important for me. That was important.
And I think that that's what everyone can relate to. Mm-hmm. Getting to rock bottom, or the worst place possible, whether because of our own decisions or not, and finding the strength and figuring out how to live after that. How would you describe that process for you?
Humbling. When you are in what I would have probably called my dream job, right? Like in terms of making a difference in the city that, born and raised in. I came home the day after college. I went to Howard University, yay Bison, and we're in the Celebration Bowl this weekend, so yay Bison. I know we're gonna win. I had to do that shout out. To then come back the day after graduation because I loved Detroit. I wanted to be nowhere else. And to be on such a public stage, to have your own personal choices, your terrible personal choices played out, for the entire world to see is hard. You can't help but humbled with something like that, right? So, but then you also have a decision. You have a decision as to what you do next. And part of my do next was to pick myself up, try and regroup, lean on the love, compassion, and support of my family and friends, and then try to figure life out, But it is, to answer your question in short, it's humbling. And it is, again, it's hard. But you got to do it, especially when you have responsibility for others. I had responsibility for my daughters, so there was no choice, other than you figure life out. You pick yourself up and you figure it out. You deal with your consequences and you move forward.
You figure out reinvention?
Absolutely. Reinvention, or, the one thing I always say, I'm writing a book, but it's not a book like folks think, right? My book is about, I'll give you the title, it's Journey Back to Myself. And sometimes when we step outside or we lose ourselves through choices, and choices could be marriages, education, jobs, careers, affairs, whatever the choice you do, sometimes you do lose yourself, right? We all have been in that space where, wait a minute, who am I at this point? And rediscovering a part of yourself that you lost is important. And for me, I lost my dignity. I lost my drive. I lost the ability to remember that I'm God's child, right? And that just because your choices played out in the public, it doesn't exempt you from a second chance. And I think that is what I had to remember, because and we all do it, whether you're public or not. Anybody that's been in a situation where, it's a negative choice, I think you guilt yourself, right? You play it over and over and over again in your head. So it's easy to stay in that space. It's easy to stay in a space when you listen to others. It's easy to stay in a space when your choices don't allow you to get another job, right? So like you said, the reinvention, the discovery of what I lost has to start. When I was on the successful path, I was myself. Where did I lose that? Where did I veer off? Where did I lose my power? And that is where I had to revisit, and my power is from in here. It's not what I do or who I am. It's from inside. And it's remembering that I've been tremendously blessed with gifts and the drive to serve others. And I think that's finding myself again. Finding myself was critical in doing that.
Kwame is out now. He has a new job. He has a new family. Mm-hmm. How do you compare with what has happened to him with what's happened with you? Or can you compare?
Oh, I don't compare at all. I mean, his life is his life. My life is mine. I don't compare it in the least.
So do you think there was no double standard in how Kwame was perceived after what happened 15 years ago and how you're perceived?
Oh, sure. I think in this country, we always have the double standard for women and men. And I'll give you this. If I wasn't a woman, if I wasn't a Black woman, if I wasn't a woman, we wouldn't be talking about the same thing 15 years later. Nobody would. But I think that women if there's anything to do with a relationship, a sexual affair or relationship, women always get the what word do I want to use? We're on television. So we get the brunt of it, right? We get the bottom rung of it. You know what I mean? Because it's not like he didn't get his portion, whatever. But it's the opportunity to, again, reintroduce yourself and reinvent yourself is harder for women because we continue to stay pegged in that one hole. So when people see you and they go, oh, I know you, you're Kwame's girl. Nope, my name is Christine Beatty. How are you? I'm nobody's girl. I'm Christine. So we always get pigeonholed, you know, in those sorts of situations. But then it's incumbent upon us to try to figure out how do we come out of it. And we can't do it by ourselves. We do it with fairness. We do it with people giving us opportunities. We do it with, you know, the love and support of our family. And I think that's what I've had is that love, tremendous support, and then just favor. You know, I've had that favor to help guide me, you know, and I hope that the seeds that I plant in the world always come back. I hope that I'm given another opportunity because I give opportunities or I help. But yeah, women often get stuck in the space where the thing ends. And then that's what we're known for and known as, you know, for eternity. It's not fair, of course, at all. It's not, you know, it's not fair, but it's, you know, you're a woman in media, so I already know you've seen it. I don't expect you to answer. You have to stay.
I'm nodding slightly. Yes, I'm nodding. But I think that resonates for many people.
Yeah, it's definitely a tougher rebuild. It was, you know, nobody ran up to me and offered jobs. Nobody, you know, said, hey, let's try your talents here. Now, there were people who gave me opportunities or I wouldn't be where I am. You know, so for those people, I'm grateful. You know, smaller companies, private owners who say, hey, come in, you know, help, you know, rebuild, you know, my staff or, you know, so those small opportunities people were willing to, but it's almost like it's a ceiling. You can't go here because you did this thing. You got to stay here. No, we're not staying here. You know, we're going to ascend as high as God will let me, as high as, my calling or whatever God has for my life. And I think that's the difference for women. We go internal and men we have to build our chances internally, right? We can't do it from external because it's not where they're coming from.
So much has been written about your story and Kwame's story. What don't we understand?
Oh, I don't know. Because I honestly don't know what people, it's so funny to me that people are still talking about that. That's what I mean. Like, I don't know that people, I don't know what folks understand. I don't want to sound like I'm not giving an answer. I honestly don't know the answer to that. The understanding hopefully is people saw a private relationship go tremendously wrong. Terrible choices, tore up families, you know, hurt careers, tore up a lot of things. And so that is something, I don't know how to explain it because you saw it. You know what I mean? And we were friends since high school. So I can't go back and say, oh, these things led to it. I can only talk about now me looking back. What were my personal reasons for, you know, choices and how I allowed myself to be involved in different situations. And I think that's also what getting older is about, right? Reflection, you know. Perspective. Yeah, reflection, perspective, and then that you don't do the same things again. Those are the things. Those are the lessons I want my kids to learn. You're gonna mess up a lot. You really are. But the question is, what did you learn from the mess up? What did you learn and where do you go now?
We have the benefit of time to be able to look back. So what are your biggest regrets then?
I want to be specific. Biggest regrets about just what happened in the city.
15 years ago in the city.
Biggest regret is that I was ever involved in an extramarital affair. It destroyed families, mine in particular, his family. It destroyed our workplace. That's my biggest regret. Regret is being involved. It is the people that were hurt, not necessarily that. It's the outcome for other people. And, you know, I watch different things when people say, I wouldn't change one thing about my past because it made me who I am today. I'm not that evolved yet. I would change it. I think I could have turned out okay without it. I think I would have evolved into a pretty good person without having gone through that. But I did, and for me, that's always something I carry is anybody that was hurt by actions from my actions. That is what is always with me. And I don't know, and people say, you have to put it down. Sure you do. I don't walk around guilting myself about it, but I'll never forget that people were harmed by something that I did. That hurts me. That's a motivator to figure out how to do more for others, right? That's a motivator for me to figure out how to continue to use my gifts, the things that I like, serving others, being of service. How do I use that even in a greater capacity? So I think that's probably how I would sum that up.
When's the last time you had contact with Kwame?
Oh, it's been a while. We don't have any kind of a relationship, so we're not friends or anything. So it's been a minute.
It's been a couple of years. Was it when he was incarcerated?
Yeah, it was before. I mean, since he's been home. There's been a couple years.
Since he's been home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just congratulations and But we don't have any kind of a relationship, so we don't speak.
You still have restitution owed to the city of Detroit. You're paying that. How does that work out?
So, and again, I don't want to give any wrong information. So part of my restitution, and I was on probation for the 5 years, was to pay restitution, which I did, during that entire time. The law at the time, to my understanding, I don't know the full ins and outs, is once you finish your probation, it becomes voluntary. I understand now it might be something changing that. I'm not sure. I've not been mandated to pay anything else, but please rest assured, when I want to pay every dime of my restitution, and I don't want that hanging over my head. So it's never been I didn't pay or don't. I paid the entire time. I paid close to $25,000 of my restitution when I was, rebuilding my life and didn't have it, but I found it because that was part of what my probation consisted of. We had to submit financial records every month for 5 years to make sure that they saw, every dime that I made, what I had, what I spent on my kids. So if I'm supposed to continue paying any sort of restitution, I 100% to do it. I don't want to pay it or I don't think I owe it. If it's now something that says I still have to continue to pay, I'm gonna continue to pay it. And if I hit the mega millions, it'll be the city of Detroit first that gets this restitution, believe that.
Do you feel that you still have anything to say to the people of Detroit?
Anything to say? No, I think I'm grateful for the people of Detroit. Detroit is my family. Whenever I came home when I lived in Atlanta, when I'm home now, the most wonderful thing people say to me is, so good to have you back. And people that I don't know. So when people say that to me, just again, it's gratefulness. People don't have to have that. People don't even have to express that. People could walk past and say nothing, or could walk past and be ugly, and people aren't. People are very gracious, and I think people resonate that we all, at some point or another, make regretful choices and things that we wish we could just, if I could have that back. And so I think that resonates with people that, okay, well, you know what? She's up walking around and, living life. I can do it too. Your choices, you can't allow those choices to define you. If those are the only choices that define you, then we're all in trouble.
What brings you joy now?
It's difficult right in this moment, only because we just lost my mom. Joy. Time spent with people I love. Yeah. I think that probably brings me the most joy. Don't want to get emotional, but because the person that I love most is not here. So those moments become even more cherishable.
They become more precious than we ever realized that they were.
Yeah, the reflection of that is that's where I find my joy, is in the people that love and support me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get super emotional.
I don't know how you can talk about losing your mom.
Yeah.
without getting emotional.
Yeah.
So there is no, in my book, there's no apology for that.
No, I appreciate that. But yeah, it's, joy is tough sometimes at this phase, but it is there. It's there. I see it. It's in the fact that now we're going to try to make new Christmas traditions and, those sorts of things. And it's the really small things, that you cherish when you're in the middle of grief. And I still am, and you are.
And not to, I was just going to say, and not to say, but there will be always a part of us that will still be in grief.
Yeah. It's never the same. You'll never be the same.
Correct.
I'll never be the same. And that realization, I think, was the hardest thing. And I remember a moment when my mom was in hospice, and she was still speaking before we took her to hospice. And then once she stopped, when she got to hospice, I don't think I realized she wouldn't speak again. And I got so angry. I got, because I would never talk to my, she was even, she's still here, but she won't talk to me ever again. And it was a point that I realized my life will never be the same from this moment. And like I said, I was very angry, and it almost scared me because the anger was, I don't care about anything anymore because my person is leaving. Yeah. And that's scary. And that lasted for a couple of days. And again, what got me out of it was family and friends. Yeah. That love and support, because they surrounded her, they surrounded me. We were all there to the very last minute, until she left this earth. Family and friends were right there. Yeah. I held her hand, my daughters, we were in the bed with her to the very last minute. So
I'm glad for that for you.
Yeah, so that was a very difficult.
Here, we got a little tissue for you. Don't want to let you.
But, and it's, to experience that, those people, I know there are folks, watching now who understand that grief. Mm-hmm. There are others who don't. And what I can say for those who don't understand it, I don't wish it on anybody. Yeah. It's not fun.
I say people will be there for you if that happens to you. We'll be there for you.
People will be there. And you have to find your people. You have to find your folks. And sometimes we also have to give people grace. People don't know what to do with grief when they haven't experienced it. It's uncomfortable for them.
Very true.
It's uncomfortable when you're crying and the person is kind of like, okay, they don't know what to do. So we have to give them grace too, because they're not mind readers. They don't know what to say. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, you talked about that you're writing a book. And it's interestingly enough, my last question for you was, how do you want the next chapter of your life to be written? Which goes actually quite in line with where you are.
How do I want it to be written? Good question. I don't know how I want it to be written, but I know how I want it to start.
Go ahead.
I want it to start with the optimism that I have the choice to do whatever I want to do in life. I've never been here. I was a caretaker for 2 years, and I'm not suddenly. It's like, wow, I had my girls. I've always been responsible for something and somebody. And of course, we, laughed about the 20-somethings. They're not fully and totally responsible for themselves, but I don't have to get them up and get them dressed. I don't have to go to a doctor's appointment. So now it's, Chris, what do you want to do? And that little bit of optimism makes me joyful, right? Because I get to decide what's next. But what I do know, what will be written and woven throughout the entire next chapter is how I take my experiences and help other people. How I take the things that I've been through and help other people. How I take my degrees, my talents, whatever it is, but help other people. So that's what's going to be woven throughout my next chapter. No matter what it is, that'll be there for certain.
Well, we can't wait to see what's next.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah. Thank you.
For being transparent with us. And again, thinking of you this holiday season.
Thank you so much. And the same. Thinking of you too.
Thank you.
Yep.